Folks, today we have information for the novice. If you're brand new with us, welcome aboard. The show is called Know the Cause, Understand Why Your Misery May Exist. And then for the advanced student, those of you who have been with me for maybe 21 years on this show, we're going to open with, is it a virus or is it a fungus? I called this segment Aflatoxin, AIDS, and HPV, human papillomavirus. You'll understand it's a two-part segment, and I'll go through it gently with you. In the middle of the show, I was asked the question, Doug, what do I do about plaque psoriasis? I tried to answer that. Then we get into fungal diagnosis, where the novice comes in. How do I know if my symptoms are fungal? And then we put an exclamation point on the end because Abby is cooking berry cobbler in the kitchen. All that and more. Stay tuned.
For the past 45 years, I have dedicated my life and my whole career to finding the root cause of disease. And I now know with certainty that we must play a role in our own health care. I'm a self-care advocate, and you know what? Every time you change your diet for the better, exercise, or swallow a nutritional supplement, so are you. Now welcome to Know the Cause.
Okay, folks, welcome aboard. Today's lesson is about a mycotoxin. Now, of the 1.5 million species of fungi, we've classified about 75,000 of them. About 300, so a small amount, are pathogenic to man. They make poisons, right? They deposit poisons in our body. These poisons are called myco, means fungus, toxin, poison. So you've got a fungus off-gassing a poison maybe inside your body. One of the most common is Candida. The second most common is Aspergillus. And Aspergillus, these two species, Flavus and Parasiticus, make a poison inside your body that causes cancer in humans. I wish doctors knew that, but I want you to know this one is called aflatoxin, well documented as very injurious to we humans. Okay, here we go. Aflatoxin, AIDS, and HPV. Wait a minute, isn't AIDS and HPV viri? What are you talking about, Doug? Fungus and viruses? Okay, go with me. Aflatoxin is a poison made by Aspergillus molds. Foods like corn, peanuts, and grains can be damaged by aflatoxin, and then in some countries, we eat a lot of those foods. AIDS is acquired immunodeficiency syndrome, follows infection by HIV, human immunovirus, and then HPV, we know a lot about the last 20 years, human papillomavirus, a virus that contributes to cervical cancer in women. And folks, in various countries, for example, sub-Sahara Kenya, women have a lot of HPV. Right? We just need to study this. We have to understand that we're calling this a virus, and yet, as you're going to learn today, the fungal load increases the viral load. How can that be? Scientists say, no, fungus and virus aren't similar. Watch. I mean, in the next 7 minutes, you're going to learn a lot, and I hope you share this with your doctor. And I hope those of you who have acquired immunodeficiency, human immunovirus, human papilloma virus, really understand science is beginning to say, maybe you're eating things, maybe you're getting into things that are increasing your viral load. There's a little bit of serum AIDS, and there's a lot of AIDS in your bloodstream, and there's a difference. I'm going to go over that with you. Molds that make poisons like aflatoxin are ubiquitous. They're all over the place. They're on our pillow, they're on your eyelashes right now, they're in my room, and they can affect all of us. Globally, AIDS and HIV impact many, many lives. Globally, human papillomavirus also impacts many lives. Sadly, Africa is most impacted by all of these, far more than most other countries in the world. And you have to ask the question, why? Why is that? And I did ask that question, folks, and the more you read, and you have to read agricultural reports, and you have to read medical reports, and you have to read mycology books, the study of fungus, and you begin to put them all together, and you begin to see why HIV and human papillomavirus and COVID, being a virus, are so common in certain places. Aflatoxin causes liver cancer. 40% of liver cancers occur in Africa where dietary exposure, corn, wheat, peanuts, other grains, to aflatoxin is common. Sub-Saharan Africa accounts for approximately 69% of people living with HIV, and in 2011, 9-10 years ago, 70% of all AIDS death. This is in Africa. Cervical cancer is common in Africa, along with human papilloma virus. So you're beginning to see, folks, where we eat a lot of, where our staple is corn, where our staple is wheat, where our kids eat a lot of peanuts. And this is globally, although it's very bad in other countries. Here in America, it's been documented that our feed supply, now that's what animals eat. So chickens and cows and pigs eat these foods. Get into these foods like corn and wheat and so forth. And then we eat the animal. So we're getting trace amounts over and over of these fungal poisons in our body. Now, wouldn't it be wonderful if we all could reduce our risk to getting these viral diseases like AIDS and HPV, and let me go further, and COVID? These are all viruses. Two very important studies teach us that we can, simply by changing our diet. This show wasn't named Take a Different Drug. It wasn't named Get a Fourth Opinion. It was called Know the Cause. Here, science is finally stating that underlying viral infections is a fungal load. We always knew about a virus load. Now we're learning when the fungus load goes up, guess what happens to the virus? I'll be right back and explain that. And welcome back, friends. What we're talking about is the fungal load increasing the viral load. So if you have human papillomavirus, or if you have acquired immunodeficiency syndrome, AIDS, it's fascinating, folks, the role that food plays. This goes back, the first one goes back 7 or 8 years, but let me show you the two studies. Number one, avoiding fungus reduces AIDS. In 2013, 2 tubes of blood are drawn from 314 African AIDS patients. One tube confirms that they do have an HIV infection. The other tube is tested for aflatoxin. That's that mold byproduct that's poisonous. Confirming positive HIV tests were then tested for their viral load, which varies depending on how much HIV is in their bloodstream. Okay, you got that? 2 tubes of blood. We're going to confirm you have AIDS, and then we're going to see how much AIDS, quantify how much is in your blood. And this one is going to be tested for something called aflatoxin. What's aflatoxin? It's a mold, and it happens to be in the foods you're eating every day. The results, as difficult as this was to comprehend, the more aflatoxin, that fungal poison, there was in the blood sample, the higher the HIV viral load was. Fungus actually increased AIDS virus virulence. This is amazing. An interesting fact, you need to know this. The drug diflucan, the antifungal drug, was developed for AIDS patients in the 1980s and is still used today. Diflucan does not kill viruses, which AIDS is. It does kill fungus. Now, that's HIV or AIDS. What about human papillomavirus? Here's a second research paper. Avoiding fungus reduces human papillomavirus. Here was the headline that I pulled this from. Detection and concentration of plasma, that means blood, this poison, mold poison, aflatoxin, is associated with detection of oncogenic human papillomavirus in Kenyan women, in English. As in the AIDS study before, the more aflatoxin, that fungal poison found in the blood of HPV positive women, the higher the risk of cervical cancer. So this is interesting, folks. There's a lot of, in Kenya that this study comes from, there was a lot of women with human papillomavirus, but rarely does that go on to cause cervical cancer. And yet the more of this fungal poison, the more cervical cancer we saw. Understand this. The fungal poison aflatoxin made by Aspergillus fungi, actually 2 species of it, makes the human diseases AIDS and HPV more virulent. How many other serious diseases like cancer and diabetes are made worse by fungus? This is my area of concentration, my area of work. I published in a cancer journal 6 years ago that fungus is intimately linked with cancer, and now we see more proof of that. Watch your fungal load. Be careful with your diet. Ravonda, in 1986, I got an invitation from a very prominent dermatologist in Dallas. I lived in LA with my wife and kids, to come to his clinic, big hospital here in Dallas. He was on a board of psoriatic doctors. So psoriasis is what he saw the majority of. And when I sat down with him, it was amazing, folks, because the answer to psoriasis in a doctor's office is a new drug, a PUVA box where you stand with the skin exposed to UV light, a cortisone shot, and it still is. It was in 1986 and it still is. I relocated my family and came out here, but not until I proved to him that fungus played a role in many cases of psoriasis. How does a doctor know? How can your doctor know? What the doctors used to do is prescribe diflucan. It's an anti-yeast bloodstream medication, and nystatin. It's an anti-yeast gut medication, because I saw so many people who had psoriasis, but they had a concomitant problem: bloating, belching, gas, constipation, diarrhea. So they had two problems. Their skin was bad, but their bowels weren't working. I knew 40 or 50 years ago that most of our illnesses are linked to the gut. Get this working, and sometimes this cleans up. How do you do that? With a changed diet, I asked the doctors if I could put them on the Kaufman diet, and with nystatin. Then what if this yeast that was impeding the gut, inducing, you're not detoxifying, your bowels don't work. Many of these patients can't sweat. And so what if they were just retaining these poisons underneath the layers of skin? What we found in 2 weeks was nothing short of miraculous. They would follow the Kaufman diet, take the diflucan and nystatin, and come back in 14 days to see the doctor. It was dramatic. Many of these people were teared up. Why, doctor, haven't we done this? I've been coming to you for 8 years. I remember this one man saying, and look, it's got to be 50, 60% better. Doug, do you think food can induce this? I think fungus induces it, and corn and wheat and peanuts, even here in America, sometimes have fungus in them. And I think antifungal lifestyles can help reduce it. They were excited. They were really excited in 2 weeks. 2 months, they had control of this, like sitting on a horse and pulling the reins. They were controlling it. 2 years, they realized what they owned was a volume switch. They could turn the volume way up on their psoriasis, just eating desserts, just drinking alcohol, just going back on antibiotics. Conversely, they could turn it way down. And that's what most people told me some years later. I control my own psoriasis. I think we did then. I know many of us do now. For 22 years, I've done this show, and welcome, friends. And the platform of this whole show is that many of us have underlying fungal pathology that our doctors don't know about. And so we end up with diseases like cancer, diabetes, hypertension, high cholesterol, etc. And sometimes the underlying pathology has much to do with fungus. So I get asked this often, and I want to share it with you. How do I know if my health problems are linked to fungus? Okay, the Center for Disease Control here in the US said this 2 years ago. Think fungus if you have symptoms that don't get better with treatment. Talk to your doctor about the possibility of a fungal infection. To which I've always told you folks, good luck. Mycology is the study of fungus. I understand that medical schools just don't teach mycology. Oh, a lot of bacteriology, a lot of virology, right? A lot of protozoa and health concerns. But fungus, vaginal yeast, ringworm, toenail fungus, that's about it. But what if fungus gets in my pericardium around my heart, in my lungs? What if it looks like cancer on an x-ray? Because, folks, it does. It's all well documented. So, how do I know if my problems are... Here's the way I want you to start. A doctor must diagnose a fungal illness. Your job, the biggest job I can ever tell you you need, and you have, is to find a doctor who knows mycology. Does your doctor treat fungal disorders? Does he prescribe diflucan or nystatin? Likely not, folks. That's why there's a growing field called naturopathic doctors, NDs, who do all of this, who study all of this. So if you're MD, keep your MD. We're always going to need MDs, but talk to a naturopathic doctor, an ND. All towns have them, and see if they know a little bit about this. Okay, A key clue to when a sick person may have a fungal infection is that he or she is being treated with medications for other types of infections, but does not get better. Again, Center for Disease Control. Even here in America, one of our governing bodies is telling us, psst, hey, how long have you been on those antibiotics? And you're still getting infections? Think fungus, maybe antifungals instead of antibiotics. How I wish, before I die, I wish I made a 1% change in the way medicine was practiced. Doctors think antibiotics. Okay? Fungi thrive on dietary carbohydrates to survive. Scientists have known this for 75 years, yet unfortunately few communicate diet changes to their patients, few doctors, in whom they suspect a fungal illness. So the doctor, even if he does say, okay, take diflucan for a yeast infection, take Sporanox for a lung or pulmonary fungal infection, they don't know about diet. Okay, here's a two-pronged approach we need to get used to. A low-carb diet is generally essential to help overcome a systemic fungal growth, and certain antifungal medicines can be prescribed to stop fungal growth or to kill fungus once it's inside your body. And I think most importantly for you or me, the diet we can try, always talk to your doctor, but here, if the doctor won't prescribe antifungal medications, ask him or her if natural supplements may be used. Many, like vitamin B3, vitamin D3, resveratrol, caprylic acid, zinc, or many, many others you can get in the health food store, have been published as having antifungal properties. Folks, let me bottom line this. If you're having a lot of symptoms and you're running to a lot of doctors, there's a Kaufman antifungal diet, and there are supplements in a health food store that help to eradicate mold if it is in your body. Talk to your doctor about starting on that.
Hi guys, welcome back to my kitchen. My name is Abby, and today I'm going to show you how to make a super simple, easy fall berry cobbler. It is probably one of my favorite things that I've made on this show. It's fantastic. It uses fresh fruit or frozen fruit if that's what you have, but it's really simple to make, and everybody that I've had try it absolutely loves it. So let's go ahead and get started. First off, starting off with a big bowl of fruit. I've got blueberries, blackberries, and raspberries all together. I'm using fresh fruit today, but again, you can use frozen fruit if it's not in season or if you just can't get fresh fruit. Then I'm gonna add in about a cup of sweetener. I'm using monk fruit today, but you can also use something like erythritol or a little bit of stevia. You wouldn't use quite as much stevia, but you can use that if that's an option that you wanna use. Then I've got some xanthan gum to thicken things up a little bit. I've got allspice, get a nice fall flavor. Cinnamon. And then just a little bit of lemon juice. Now from here, we're gonna mix everything together so everything gets nice and coated in the sweetener and the spices. Just take your time mixing everything in. I can already smell the allspice. It smells like fall and like sitting by the fireplace with a hot cup of coffee. Oh, excited. Okay, this is nice and mixed. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna empty all this into a pie shell. You can use it in a pie shell, or you can also have it in individual ramekins and just separate it out individually, but I've got a pie shell for today. You just wanna kind of even things out a little bit because we're gonna make a crumble mixture next and put everything on top. Just get everything as even as you can. Okay. Now, set that off to the side. Now in the bowl that we had just used, what we're gonna do is we're gonna make our crumble mixture for the topping. I've got some almond flour here, a little more cinnamon, a little more monk fruit, and some melted butter. Then you're just gonna mix all this together. It's gonna end up being pretty crumbly, but that's okay, because this is kind of a cobbler crumble topping. So just wanna get this all mixed in. I'm gonna use my hands, and I'm just going to sprinkle the crumble mixture on top. And it's not gonna completely cover it, but that's okay. Just wanna get it as even as possible. And just really keep that crumbleness going all the way around. One thing that I really like about this recipe is that it's almost like baking a pie, but it's a little bit easier than a pie because you don't have to worry about getting the pie shell done beforehand and making sure that's pre-baked and everything works out all right. Like, you can just whip this up. It's using one bowl at a time, and then you throw it in the oven for about 20 minutes, and then you're done. That's absolutely it. It's like an inverse pie. Now I've got my crumble on top, and I'm gonna put this in the oven at 375 for anywhere from 18 to 20 minutes. All right, we're back. I've got my berry crumble out of the oven. It's cooled off enough so where I can eat it. I went ahead in the meantime and made a little bit of whipped cream. It's the same whipped cream that I use all the time. It's on the Coffin page. So what I'm gonna do, I don't need that yet. I'm gonna go ahead and spoon some of this cobbler into a bowl. Oh yes. This is why it is called a crumble. It just crumbles everywhere and it's delicious. And now I'm going to put a little bit of whipped cream on top. And there you have it, a nice fall flavored berry crumble. Oh yeah. You get the allspice, you get the sweet cinnamon flavor, texture in the crumble part. The berries are fantastic. Everything is amazing. It goes well with the whipped cream. You don't even have to have the whipped cream if you don't want some. This is fantastic for a really cold evening. If you have friends over, if you just want to make an extra special treat for yourself, you can. Again, the full recipe is at knowthecause.com. None of these foods feed fungus, so you don't have to worry about anything like that. This is just a great treat to have on hand. It's an easy recipe to have. Go ahead and make this. Let me know what you think on their Facebook page, and have a great day.
I know what you're thinking. I'm thinking the same thing. Abby's Berry Cobbler wins every time. Thank you for joining us today, folks. Whether you're a novice and just finding out, hey, maybe my heart palpitations or my skin problems might be linked to fungus based on what Doug said, or whether you're advanced, whether you understand that sometimes a fungal load increases a viral load, then is the cause fungus or virus? I'll leave that for the scientists. God bless you, folks. See you next time. Bye-bye.